Hello, and welcome to Under 1000. My name's Thomas Flower, and each episode I'll read you a new piece of flash fiction. All of the stories are 1000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading One Day. One day, when it's all over, you'll go out and smell the flowers. You'll take in the scents and the wider world around you. Though it is unchanged, it will not seem the same. Everything will be sweeter, brighter, more like itself than it was before. The flowers were always here, of course. The grass, the sky, the birds chirping in the trees. They remained. And maybe you saw them before. But not like this. Not when you were so unencumbered and free. Now, they are reminders of the beauty that surrounds you and that you can explore to your own delight. No longer are they the tantalizing visions of a world you no longer have access to. Now the flowers are diamonds, scattered on a carpet of grass. The sky a blue suede blanket, covering you gently. Each flock of birds, a chorus of life continuing as normal, where before they were only mocking and taunting you with what you could barely have. One day, when it's all over, you'll lounge on a patio with a drink and a magazine. It isn't your patio, and it isn't your magazine. Maybe you went round to a friend's and picked up some deliciously pointless glossy rag from the table. Maybe you went to your favourite part of the park, and on the way a kind-looking stranger asked if you wanted to read this silly thing now that they were done with it. The details are not important. Here you will be, surrounded by others, basking luxuriously in the sun and reading some trash about how he slept with her and she dared to wear this to that. You won't even realise how special this moment is. It'll be just like any other. A moment of gloriously stupid self-indulgence, so unnecessary and so vital. One day, when it's all over, you'll bake bread and forget. You'll forget when you learned to do so. You'll forget that you worried about bags of flour at the supermarket and wondered whether learning to bake was for fun or out of necessity. You'll do it not out of boredom or obligation, but simply because it's a Sunday and you want to taste the flavours of a homemade loaf. Your mind will be uncluttered by other concerns, worries, thoughts. You'll simply be baking for the hell of it, for the fun of it. And that bread will taste so good. And you won't even know quite why. One day, when it's all over, you'll take a bubble bath slowly over a single afternoon. You won't mean to, but the water will be warm and you'll feel so relaxed that you'll fall asleep right there in the tub. And when you wake, you'll laugh at your own silliness as you towel yourself dry and drain the bath. You won't even care if you got much cleaner or not, because cleanliness won't haunt your thoughts like it once did. Soap and water and bubbles and showers will be things of happiness and joy, not the tools you use to try and scrub the terror out of the world. You won't even remember feeling like that. You'll remember the events, but not the emotions. You probably won't even wash your hands for that long. And you won't have to, because it won't matter. One day, when it's all over, you'll go to the park and count the number of people wearing hats. Just because you can. Just because you want to. Just because it's there and you have time, and why not anyway? And maybe you'll count up to 7 or 9 before you get bored and decide not to bother. And so you'll go to a cafe and order waffles with ice cream, because the day is hot and the week has been long, and when waffles and ice cream are available, then why shouldn't you eat them for every meal? And maybe you'll remember how you used to come here with her before she died, during that strange and awful time, and how you wept and felt powerless. And maybe you won't remember. And either way, you'll have dessert for lunch on a bright sunny day, and for a moment, life won't seem so bad. One day, when it's all over, you'll allow yourself a longer breath in and let your shoulders roll back. You'll remember those days, so long ago, how stressed and frantic you were, and how it seemed like maybe the world was falling apart and that everything was changing irreparably. And you'll think of everyone who didn't make it and wonder how you'll mark the day of remembrance for them this year. And it will all come flooding back, and maybe a tear or two will fall, but only for a moment. Because life will whisk you away to something else, because you'll have bills to pay and you'll need to go buy a tin of tomatoes from the store, and because life moves on, and life is meant to move on. And you won't have forgotten, but you won't have these thoughts at the forefront of your mind anymore, where they can cut you into nervous, angry, terrified shreds. And you'll just be. In a different place, in a different time, with all this, just a memory, an impression of a time far in the past. One day, when it's all over, but not now. Someday later, maybe soon. But not now. But not now. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. To follow the show online, look for Under 1000 Pod on Twitter or Facebook, or check out the website at under1000pod.com. If you'd like to support the show on Patreon, go to patreon.com/under1000pod, where you can sign up to read each month's stories in advance, as well as to have a thank you be read during these credits. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song, and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, NICTATE, and thesharks.bandcamp.com. or search for them on your favourite streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and that you'll join me again next time for some more super short fiction.